This is not just messy. This is the kind of chaos that makes people stop mid-scroll and go, wait, how did we get here? Because right now, the charity Cantabile is reportedly taking legal action against its own co-founder, Prince Harry. Yes, read that again slowly. A charity going after the man who helped build it. The same man who spent nearly 2 decades raising awareness, raising funds, and attaching his name, his story, and frankly, his mother's legacy to its mission. And somehow we're being told this makes sense? Because I'm trying to follow the logic, and it's giving, we lost the plot 3 seasons ago, but the show must go on. And the wildest part? This isn't some anonymous corporate fallout where nobody knows who's who. These are recognizable figures, a globally known charity, and a situation unfolding in full public view like a slow-motion car crash nobody can look away from. Let's ground ourselves for a second, because people have short memories. Cantabile wasn't created for headlines. It was founded by Prince Harry and Prince Seiso in honor of Princess Diana to support vulnerable children and young people in southern Africa. This wasn't a vanity project. This wasn't a royal ribbon cutting and leave situation. Harry showed up repeatedly, quietly, consistently for nearly 20 years. And that kind of long-term commitment, you can't fake it. You can't replace it overnight. You definitely can't erase it with a press statement and a lawsuit. So when people act like his role is optional, replaceable, or irrelevant, it's not just inaccurate, it's borderline disrespectful to the actual history of the organization. It also raises a deeper question people are starting to whisper more loudly. If the founders are no longer part of the structure, what exactly is holding the original spirit of the charity together? Now, here comes Sophie Chandauka, and suddenly everything starts unraveling. We've got public statements about coordinated adverse media campaigns. We've got accusations flying around about harm to the charity's reputation. We've got interviews, media appearances, and a narrative being pushed that somehow positions Prince Harry as what exactly? The problem? And I'm sitting here like, are we rewriting history in real time? Because the timeline is doing somersaults. First, there are public criticisms and implications, then reports of internal breakdown, then the entire board of trustees walks away. Let me repeat that slowly for dramatic effect. The entire board, including both founding princes. That's not a minor disagreement. That's not creative differences. That's a full organizational fracture. And when fractures like that happen at the top, they don't stay contained. They ripple outward, affecting staff morale, donor confidence, partnerships, and the very programs the charity is supposed to protect. When a board collapses like that, it sends one very loud message. Something is seriously wrong internally. Organizations don't just lose every major figure overnight unless trust has completely broken down. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. Because instead of stabilizing the situation, instead of rebuilding confidence, instead of focusing on the charity's mission, now we have legal action being directed at one of the founders. If you're a donor watching this unfold, what are you thinking? Are you thinking, yes, this is where my money should go? Or are you quietly backing away while muttering, I did not sign up for this reality show? Because donors don't just give money, they give trust. And once that trust starts cracking, it's incredibly hard to rebuild. And right now, every headline feels like another crack. Now let's talk about the part that really has people raising eyebrows. There were claims of bullying. Serious claims. But according to what's being discussed publicly, the Charity Commission looked into it and did not find evidence to support those allegations. And this is where perception becomes everything. Because when accusations are made publicly and then don't hold up under investigation, people start questioning everything else. It doesn't automatically make someone legally liable, no, but it absolutely damages credibility in the court of public opinion. And once credibility starts slipping, every move after that gets scrutinized 10 times harder. It also creates a dangerous loop. The more you try to defend the original claim, the more attention gets drawn back to the fact that it didn't hold up. That's not a winning cycle. Now we arrive at the current situation. A lawsuit against Prince Harry, framed around claims of reputational harm and media campaigns. And here's the problem. From the outside, it doesn't look strategic, it looks reactive. It looks like something you do when control of the narrative is slipping through your fingers and you're trying to grab it back. Because let's be real for a second. If the goal is to protect the charity's reputation, how exactly does a public legal battle with its most recognizable founder help? Walk me through that logic, because I'm struggling. Legal action tends to drag issues out, not resolve them quietly. It invites scrutiny. It opens the door to documents, timelines, and internal dynamics being examined under a microscope. So if the intention was to calm things down, this is doing the exact opposite. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room: funding. Charities survive on trust, visibility, and relationships. Prince Harry brought all three, not just because of who he is, but because of his long-term commitment to the cause. When you remove that kind of figure, you don't just lose a name, you risk losing momentum. You risk losing donor confidence. You risk losing attention in a world where attention is currency. So when people ask, can the charity thrive without him? That's not hate. That's a legitimate question. And if the answer isn't clear yet, launching legal action is not exactly the reassuring signal leadership might think it is. If anything, it raises even more questions about stability, direction, and long-term viability. Here's the truth nobody in PR wants to say out loud. Optics matter. And right now, the optics are brutal. You have founders stepping away, a full board exit, public accusations that didn't stick, and now legal action against a co-founder. That doesn't look like strength. That looks like instability. And instability is the one thing charities cannot afford, because the moment people lose confidence, they don't announce it loudly. They just stop showing up, stop donating, stop engaging. And that silence, it's deadly for organizations that rely on public support. Whether you support him or not, one thing is clear. Prince Harry has been deeply tied to Chandauka's identity from the beginning. His work, his advocacy, his connection to Princess Diana's legacy, all of that shaped how the world sees this organization. So watching him become the target of legal action from within that same organization, it's jarring. It feels like a complete breakdown of what the charity was originally built on. And for many people, it raises a simple but powerful question. How did it get this far? At the end of the day, this doesn't look like a charity protecting itself. It looks like a leadership crisis playing out in public. And instead of calming the storm, the current approach is pouring gasoline on it. Because suing your founder doesn't erase controversy. It amplifies it. It doesn't rebuild trust. It tests it. And it definitely doesn't make people feel confident about where the organization is heading next. If anything, it creates a sense that the focus has shifted away from impact and onto internal conflict. A charity that was once known for its work on the ground is now being discussed in terms of leadership disputes, legal threats, and public narratives. And that shift doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens when priorities start to drift, when communication breaks down, and when decisions made at the top begin to overshadow the very purpose the organization was built to serve. People don't rally behind confusion. They rally behind clarity and trust. And right now, that's the part that feels lost in all this chaos. Another layer to this is accountability, or the growing perception of a lack of it. When major decisions lead to visible fallout, like leadership exits and public disputes, people naturally expect some level of reflection or course correction. Instead, what's being seen is escalation. And escalation without clear accountability can come across as deflection, whether that's the intention or not. In situations like this, silence on key questions tends to speak louder than any statement, and people are paying attention to what isn't being addressed just as much as what is. And then there's the long-term question nobody can ignore. What does this mean for the future of Centabale? Because beyond the headlines and the personalities involved, there's a real concern about continuity. Strong organizations are built to withstand change, but they also rely on steady leadership and a clear sense of direction. Right now, the uncertainty isn't just about one decision or one moment. It's about whether the path forward is strong enough to regain confidence and refocus on the mission that started it all. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.